tactical, but you'd think with the situation in the table with City so far out in front and with so many key players missing, this might just be a little bit more rogue, perhaps both sides just going for it.
Hope so, I really do. Hope so for all the listeners and those that are going to watch it back on Match of the Day, but it's set up for a perfect game. It's a cup final for both teams because whoever loses at the title race, and even a draw, you're out the title race. So it's a must-win game, so they'll treat it as a cup final, and there has to be a winner. And let's hope there's loads of goals and a lot of excitement. I can't wait. I'm absolutely buzzing, and to see how both teams react, really.
Just briefly on Liverpool in particular and the COVID cases they have, including Jurgen Klopp, of course. I mean, to lose any of those players, in Matip, Firmino and Alisson, would be a loss. But to lose all three, just how much of a blow is that for them?
Yeah, look, losing Alisson isn't ideal, but Kelleher was brilliant in the Carabao Cup and was the hero, really. So it's good. He's got a bit of confidence behind him. They've got a top team. You know, Milner, Fabinho and Henderson in that midfield. There's nothing wrong with that, far from it. And the back four as well. I've been impressed with Konate when he's come in at times. And look, the front three had an off day against Leicester. There's no question about it. Their entries into the box, the XGs they had, it was just a brilliant performance by Schmeichel and just an off day I put it down to. So I expect they'll be at the races, and what Liverpool don't want is 2 back-to-back losses. So it's going to be very difficult, but you're up against a Chelsea team that have had a lot of drama, as you said, that we're going to talk about in a bit. So again, they've got their own issues, so it'll be a very, very good game.
Emma, I've just got some quotes from Thomas Tuchel here that have been pointed out to me. This is from the Fifth Stand app, which is Chelsea's official app. Thomas Tuchel talking about the omission of Romelu Lukaku today. Tuchel is quoted as saying, "It became too noisy and so close to the match, so I decided to protect the preparation of the match, and that is why he is out." Of course, we have spoken twice, and he has spoken to the lead players, and after that we had to realise it's too close to the match and it's too big. We need to protect the preparation of the match. We have a big match to play and we need full focus, which is anyway hard to get even with this decision, but it is, in my opinion, easier. And he finishes by saying, for sure it was a difficult decision to take, but in my opinion it is the one to take.
Right,
so that from Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, let's stick with this, and I'm actually delighted to say that also joining us, Alan Shearer now. Alan, picking up on those quotes from Thomas Tuchel there, if we're going to stick with metaphors around volume, surely Tuchel dropping him in a game of this significance, of this importance, does that not amplify the noise around Chelsea at the moment, given that if he did play, and he's been in pretty good form, he could have silenced this by just scoring and getting on with it?
I'm not sure he could have silenced it. I think what has happened, and that's just been confirmed, that Tuchel has said he's spoken to the player, but what we don't know is what was said. We don't know whether Lukaku has apologised or whether he's prepared to even think of apologising, because if he goes into that meeting and says, no, I meant everything I said and there's no need for me to apologise, then I totally understand why he's been left out today. I think it all depends on, we're guessing, it all depends on what was said in that conversation, and also what it was said in the conversation between Lukaku and the rest of the players, because I don't suspect they would have been over the moon at what they were hearing either.
Karen, it's a good point. I mean, how will the rest of the dressing room be feeling about this? Surely this has come as a bit of a distraction to them as well.
It has, but he's not the only player. I mean, look at the back line that haven't signed their new deals either. So there's probably a lot of disruption within the Chelsea camp already. Like I said, so it's just come not at a good time in general. The injuries, like I said, the back line not signing their contracts, free to speak to other teams, and Lukaku doing that. But he did it. I covered the game that they played against Villa, and he did a post-match interview, and he had a few little nibbles then about they're not playing to his strengths. He was performing, and that was what he could do. So I think it's been coming. It's been a gradual thing. So I'm a little bit surprised that Tuchel hasn't picked up on it a little bit earlier, if I'm honest, because it's been 2 or 3 times now where I think he's had a little bit of a nibble and made his point clear. But what you do know is that this is Chelsea Football Club, and you don't do that to Chelsea Football Club. I've been there. I've been captain of the women's side, and you don't do that. You know who your parent club is. He might have been trying to appease the Inter fans, but you don't, in my opinion, you don't disrespect the club that you're signed to, and I think it was the right decision.
I agree with that, Karen. I mean, if you've got anything to say, he should go to the manager or go to the players in that in that dressing room. You can't go out on television and do what he did. I mean, whether it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, we're not quite sure. But what we do know is that it was only a matter of time before a statement like that was going to come out, and it was always going to be big news. So he has disrespected the football club and his fellow players, and of course the manager, particularly with the goings on nowadays, with the problems that every single football club has got. And we've heard managers day after day, week after week now, for a long time, to say how difficult their job is. It's a tough enough job anyway, with what's going on, but because they don't even know who they're going to have for a team on the morning of a game or morning of training, who's going to be turning up to training. So to wake up to news like that, I mean, as I said, the job is hard enough any day. It's the last thing that Tuchel would have needed or wanted.
Alan,
what we don't know there, I was just going to say, Emma, what we don't know from this is where this goes from here. You know, that effectively just deals with today, doesn't it? You know, so is this a one-off? You've done wrong, and we've taken action, and that's the end of it, or whether it goes on from here, and they've got a cup semi-final to play against Tottenham on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to go away until we hear from Romelu himself, is it? I mean, even with the result today, whether they win, lose or draw, it's not going away until we hear the side of Romelu, whether he's prepared to come out and apologise or not. I mean, I suspect if he isn't, then it's going to rumble on for a lot longer.
Do you suspect that's something that Chelsea might encourage at this stage? And I was going to ask you, Alan, off the back of that as well, do you think he's the kind of player that will respond well to this, to being dropped? Will Tuchel get the desired reaction?
Well, only time will tell. I mean, they've had a really tough time of it of late. I mean, what was it, 6 or 7 weeks ago, myself included, we're all saying how great Chelsea were. They're not conceding goals even without Lukaku. They're looking a very, very good, solid unit, and then all of a sudden they concede a load of goals, have a bit of a tough time, and then Lukaku actually comes back, and then he plays really well, gets a couple of goals, comes on at half time, scores again, and then you've got to face this as a manager and then as a football club. But I don't suspect it's going away until Romelu decides what he wants to do and whether he feels as if he has done wrong.
Alan, we'll leave it there with you for now. Just a reminder that Match of the Day 2 with Mark Chapman, Alan Shearer and Jermaine Genius will be on BBC One and the iPlayer this evening at 10:30. But an awful lot of football to be played between now and then. Talking a little bit about the headlines with the Chelsea team news there and the omission of Romelu Lukaku from the Chelsea squad. But Karen Carney, what about the Liverpool squad? When you just look at the list of players that they either have injured or with COVID or suspended right now, you've got Thiago, Robertson, Origi, Alisson, Matip, Firmino, Jota, Elliott, Phillips, Minamino. They've got real problems of their own, haven't they?
Yeah, and no Klopp today as well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel as bad as last season when they had all the injuries. For me, it doesn't feel as bad. I feel like I'm looking at their 11 today, and there's players on the bench as well. I just think the 11's ridiculous. Yes, Mane's struggling a little bit of form, but I'd still always have him. Jota, Salah's unplayable. And I'm looking at, again, Van Dijk, Kanate. You know, I don't see the bigger issues that they previously had. So, yes, they've had injuries, but you could equally say that about Chelsea. But I just think maybe Klopp not being here, you know, a lot of people say as a player you can only really influence probably at half-time and with his substitutes. But I always remember watching Klopp in the warm-up. He goes and stands and watches the opposition. And I looked today, them warming up Liverpool, and I'm thinking, I would miss Klopp giving Chelsea the eyes, because he always turns and faces them in the warm-up and kind of gives that intimidation factor. And I just think he's so animated, and we've seen now the common trend of animated managers. I would really miss him as a player. Even though I might be on the opposite wing and I might not hear him, I would miss his presence. And I think that, you know, the player's out, but Klopp, for me, he's difficult. I know his staff can take it over, but I'd really miss that focal point on the side of the pitch, and that's what he brings.
Yeah, this is it. John, I'm sure you can add to that. You've seen an awful lot of Liverpool, and you would have seen Jurgen Klopp in his technical area, and just how animated he is and what he does during a game, which we as the listeners at home, or what we see on the TV, we won't necessarily see that detail, but it might become obvious today in his absence.
I was thinking exactly the same as Karen when I was coming here today, thinking how strange it will be, certainly for us, to not see him in that position, but also, I mean, we can only know this, can't we, from if you are in the dressing room with Jurgen Klopp and you know what a presence that he is. Yeah. My suspicion is that he is a massive presence in there, and for him not to be there today will definitely be noticeable. That's what I would say. And the other thing is, you're absolutely right, Emma. It's very different to the absences that they had last season, but I'm sure it's in the mind of Liverpool supporters that this time last year they suddenly hit that run of where form deserted them, and it was 3 wins from 14 Premier League matches between the end of December and the beginning of March, when they slipped from the very top of the table down to 8th place in the league. I don't think anything like that will happen again, but it's definitely a time for them at the moment to batten down the hatches, I think.
Well, the pre-match media duties fell to assistant manager Pep Linders, who spoke to Sky Sports before the game. He was talking about Jurgen Klopp and COVID, saying that he was showing mild symptoms, but Jurgen is Jurgen. He gives everyone positive vibes, gives us full support and energy from home. At the moment, the team is prepared and well drilled. Hopefully the team can still perform, and he gives his full support. He was also asked about the absence of Matip, Alisson and Firmino, did confirm it was COVID, but then did also add, we do not come here for excuses. We come here with the idea to create a final, and we are not a team of excuses with whoever we might be missing. And Karen, with those missing, it presents opportunity, doesn't it? If you look at Kevin Kelleher today, huge opportunity for him.
Yeah, like I said earlier, he was the hero in the Carabao Cup game. So, like I said, his confidence will be high. It comes in, but like I said, he's got Virgil van Dijk in front of him, and you look at the midfield as well, very experienced, Milner, Fabinho, Henderson. So the spine of the team will protect him. But he's already got good confidence anyway. It's not like he hasn't played, he's only played a couple of weeks ago, so he should be completely fine and going in with it with every confidence, and deservedly so.
Just a little footnote there as well. Adrian is named as substitute goalkeeper on the bench, but he's been out with a calf injury. And they've also included on the bench a second goalkeeper, Marcelo Pitaluga, who's only 19 years old, Brazilian. But I wonder if that, and I know that a number of teams recently, because of all of the various absences and problems, have named a couple of goalkeepers on the bench. But I wonder if that is actually a little bit of insurance, just in case